Have you ever walked into a room and felt like no one noticed you? Like your presence didn't matter? No one looked your way. No one asked your opinion. No one made space for you? It's not just in your head. It's real. But here's the truth. No one tells you. You don't get ignored because you're not good enough. You get ignored because you're sending the wrong signals. And powerful people are always watching. Not everyone, just the few who matter, and the many who disappear. People disappear. Not because they're quiet, not because they're shy, but because they've trained themselves to act invisible without even knowing it. The way you walk into a room, the way your eyes move, the way you speak, sit, apologize, or hold back. Every gesture sends a message. Powerful people aren't looking for noise. They're looking for certainty. They're scanning for energy, not volume. Presence, not politeness. Machiavelli didn't write for the weak. He wrote for rulers, the ones who don't wait to be seen. They step in with intention. They don't beg for attention. They pull it. They don't perform to please. They act to command. But here's the paradox. You don't need to change your personality. You don't need to fake confidence or become someone loud, cold, or arrogant. What you need is to stop doing the 13 things that are making you invisible. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're habits, small, quiet patterns. Soft behaviors that feel humble, kind, or safe. But in truth, they're disempowering. They make powerful people overlook you. Even when your ideas are brilliant, your heart is strong and your intentions are good. This video isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the parts of you that already carry quiet strength and shedding the ones that make you shrink. So if you've ever felt like the room forgets you, this isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility. Let's start. Here are the 13 invisible habits that make powerful people look past you and how to reverse them. 1. You enter rooms with your energy turned inward you, being watched long before you speak. And not by everyone, just by the people who matter. The ones who hold influence, power, and opportunity. But what they're looking for isn't noise, it's presence. And when you walk into a room with your energy pointed inward, you vanish before you even begin. Your shoulders shrink, your eyes scan the floor, your mind starts talking to itself. Do I belong here? Do I look okay? Am I being judged? You fold into yourself like you're trying to escape. You're not being humble. You're disappearing. Meanwhile, those with presence walk in differently. Their awareness expands outward. They don't speak loudly, but they own space. Their posture says, I belong here. Their eyes don't search for safety, they scan the room like they're mapping it. This is what the powerful feel. Direction, purpose, comfort in stillness. If you don't project your energy out, you're not even part of the equation. They don't reject you, they just don't see you. The room is a test, and the first answer you give is your entrance. Enter like you carry value, not like you're hoping to borrow it. But what happens when you do speak and your tone still gives you away? What if the words sound right, but something deeper feels off? That brings us to the second habit, and it's hiding in your voice point too. You speak like you're asking for permission. You've entered the room. You're finally speaking. But there's a problem. Your voice is betraying you. Your words may be strong, but your tone tells a different story. And the powerful pick up on it instantly. Your voice rises at the end of sentences like you're asking a question. You soften your phrases with, just, maybe, or I think. You trail off as if you're afraid of being too clear. It doesn't matter what you're saying. If it sounds like you're seeking approval, they've already tuned you out. To powerful people, this isn't politeness. It's self-doubt, and it's loud, louder than your words. They don't hear confidence. They hear hesitation. They don't hear authority. They hear someone asking, "Is it okay if I speak?" But here's the truth. Real presence doesn't ask for permission. It speaks with calm weight, low, steady, measured. No extra words, no nervous fill-ins, no performance. Just control. And when you speak that way, something strange happens. People stop interrupting. They stop rushing you. They lean in. Because confidence isn't in how much you say, it's in how little you need to say it. But even if your words become steady, there's another habit that ruins your presence fast, one that seems harmless, but gives away your need for approval. In the blink of an eye. It's small, it's social, and it's deadly to your image. Let's talk about your laugh. 3. You laugh too easily. Even when it's not funny, you've started to speak with more weight. But then, someone makes a joke. It's a little off. Maybe sarcastic, maybe even disrespectful. And without thinking, you laugh. That's the moment they mark you. Laughter isn't just about humor. It's a social signal. It tells people, "I agree, I accept this. I want to stay in your good graces." When you laugh too quickly, especially when it's not funny, you're not expressing confidence. You're surrendering it. Powerful people use this as a test. They say something risky, maybe even mocking, just to see how you'll react. If you laugh nervously, they know you want acceptance more than respect. That you'll shrink yourself just to stay liked. They don't get offended. They take note. Because here's the truth. The one who laughs first usually gives up the power, especially when it comes from discomfort. And once you've shown that, they'll never see you as an equal again. So what should you do? Don't fake a smile. Don't chuckle to keep peace. Let the tension hang. Let silence speak. Look them in the eye and say nothing. Because when people can't read you, they can't control you. Still, it's not just your reactions that reveal insecurity. Sometimes it's how much you talk and how hard you try to explain yourself that makes you vanish. Let's move to the next quiet killer of presence. Overexplaining. 4. You overexplain what doesn't need explaining. You were asked a simple question. You gave a good answer, but you didn't stop. You kept talking, adding context, disclaimers, background stories, softeners. And without realizing it, you made yourself smaller with every word. Why do we do this? Because deep down, we're afraid we won't be understood. We think, if I just explain it better, they'll get me. They'll see I'm not wrong. I'm not offensive. I'm reasonable. But powerful people don't hear clarity when you over-explain. They hear insecurity. They hear someone who doesn't trust their own voice. Someone who's trying to earn permission to have an opinion. And someone who's afraid of silence, as if quiet means failure. But silence is power. And confident people use it well. They say what needs to be said, then they stop. No trailing, no filling, no extra packaging. Here's what the powerful feel. If you need this many words to prove your point, maybe your point isn't strong enough. So, next time, try this. Say it once. Say it clearly. Then let the silence do the rest. If someone wants more, they'll ask. And when they ask, you've already won their attention. But what if you never get the chance to speak? What if, instead of adding value, you sit quietly, hoping someone invites you in? Then you've already fallen into the next trap, and it's one of the most dangerous. Waiting to be included. 5. You wait to be included instead of inserting yourself. You sit at the edge of the conversation, listening closely, nodding politely, waiting for the right moment. You think, they'll notice me. They'll ask for my thoughts. They'll make space for me. But powerful rooms don't work that way. No one gives you a spot. You take it. Waiting to be invited into important conversations makes you invisible. Not because you're not smart or insightful, but because you've placed yourself in the role of an outsider. someone who needs permission, someone who's still hoping. Here's what you have to understand. Powerful people aren't being rude. They're filtering. They're not looking for the quiet observer. They're looking for the person bold enough to step in, to speak up without being asked, to bring value without being prompted. Because if you can't claim space here, where? There's just talk. How will you claim space where there's real power, pressure, and risk? This doesn't mean interrupt or dominate. It means enter. When the topic is in your lane, speak. When the moment opens, step forward. When silence falls, be the one who fills it, not with noise, but with presence. And if your mind says, but, what if I'm wrong? That fear isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. But there's a habit even worse than silence. A habit that camouflages itself as humility and fools almost everyone. It's this: you constantly downplay yourself. 6. You constantly downplay yourself. Someone compliments your work, and your first instinct? You shrug it off. Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. Honestly, anyone could have done it. You think you're being humble, but you're not. You're teaching people how to value you, and you're setting the price at 0. Powerful people aren't drawn to those who deny their own worth. They don't admire the one who hides their light. They forget them. Downplaying might make you feel safe, but in powerful rooms, it makes you invisible. Real humility isn't pretending you're not good. It's knowing your value and not needing to shout it. You can own your strengths quietly, but clearly. You can say, thank you, without shrinking. You can allow yourself to be seen without fear of seeming arrogant. Because here's the thing. If you can't even own your worth in conversation, how will anyone trust you with real responsibility? And that need to stay small. It always leaks somewhere else. Most often, in your body. In the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. Which brings us to the next habit. You move like you're trying not to take up space. 7. You move like you're trying not to take up space. Your words can be right. Your idea is strong, but your body, it tells the truth. Slouched shoulders, folded arms, legs crossed too tight, quick movements, eyes that flick around like you're checking for exits. Your body is whispering, I don't want to be noticed. And powerful people hear it, loud and clear. They're not just listening to what you say, they're watching what you signal. And when your body looks like it wants to disappear, they believe it. You become forgettable, not because you lack value, but because your posture says you don't believe you have any. But confidence has a posture. It lives in stillness, open shoulders, unrushed movements, eye contact that's calm, not aggressive. A walk that says, I'm not running from anything. You don't need to fake dominance. You need to stop apologizing with your body, because when your presence is settled, people settle around you. They sense something rare, someone grounded, clear, calm. And in a world full of frantic energy, that stillness becomes magnetic. Even posture won't save you if your energy still carries one dangerous habit, trying too hard to be liked. And this one, it's subtle, but devastating. Point 8. You try too hard to be liked. You smile quickly. You agree often. You avoid disagreement. You ask questions just to keep the other person comfortable. You listen more than you want to, just to stay pleasant. Why? Because deep down, you think likability equals safety. But powerful people don't chase likability, and they don't respect those who do. Because trying to be liked doesn't come off as kind. It comes off as needy, as someone molding themselves to please, as someone who doesn't trust their unfiltered self to be enough. There's a big difference between being kind and being nice. Kindness is rooted in strength. It has boundaries. It says no when needed. Niceness is rooted in fear. It says yes even when it hurts. When you try to be liked by everyone, you lose the gravity of your presence. Because if you're always agreeable, then your agreement means nothing. Powerful people value those who stand their ground, who have a spine, who can respect others without needing to blend into them. And ironically, the less you try to be liked, the more you are. Because you're real. But here's the twist. Even if you stop chasing likability, your words can still reveal a deeper issue. Let's talk about the next subtle habit that makes you invisible. You speak in vague, generic language. 9. You speak in vague, generic language. You want to sound smart, professional, respectful. So you say things like, I just think we should maybe consider a few different approaches. It might be worth exploring some ideas in the future. There could be potential value if we align on something. But here's the problem. You're saying nothing, and powerful people can smell it. Vagueness doesn't sound safe. It sounds unsure. Generic language doesn't sound professional. It sounds forgettable. And when your words don't land with clarity or texture, no one feels compelled to remember you. Powerful people value specificity. They value clear thinking. They want language that cuts, not cushions. Instead of, maybe we should try, say, I recommend this. Instead of, we could improve communication, say, let's implement a weekly 10-minute check-in. Be clear, be bold, be concrete, because here's what clarity shows. You've thought things through. You have a point, a view. You're not hiding behind fluff. And when you speak that way, your words don't just float. They land. They shape the room. They carry weight. But even sharp language won't protect you if your mindset is still ruled by a deeper fear. The fear of being too much. Let's move into one of the most invisible habits of all. You suppress your intensity. 10. You suppress your intensity to fit in. There's a fire inside you. You think deeply. You feel strongly. You see patterns. You have drive. But somewhere along the way, someone told you, you're too intense. Relax a little. Don't be so sensitive. So you dialed it down. You edited yourself. You laughed when it hurt. You nodded when you disagreed. You dimmed your light, not because it wasn't real, but because it felt too real for the room. And slowly, you became palatable, acceptable, normal, but powerful people. They don't hide their intensity. They refine it. They don't soften their fire. They learn how to use it without burning themselves. And when they see someone else who carries that same quiet storm, but is too afraid to show it, they don't see potential. They see hesitation, fear, suppression. Don't confuse intensity with aggression. Real intensity is focused, contained, alive. It's the presence of deep thought, not the noise of scattered emotion. If you suppress your depth to blend in, you'll never be seen for who you are. You'll keep impressing the wrong people and boring the right ones. And this leads us to one of the most tragic habits of all. A habit that begins in childhood and often lingers for life. Apologizing. 11. You over-apologize. Even when you've done nothing wrong. You bump into someone? Sorry. You speak up in a meeting? Sorry. You take a moment for yourself? Sorry. But what are you apologizing for? You're not being polite. You're apologizing for existing, for having needs, for being visible. And powerful people can feel it. They don't think, oh, how humble. They think, this person doubts their own right to be here. When you say sorry without cause, it subtly tells the world, I'm afraid of causing discomfort. I'm afraid of confrontation. I don't feel safe taking up space. Real power doesn't over-apologize. It owns mistakes when needed, but never offers unnecessary guilt as a handshake. There's a difference between being accountable and being insecure. Powerful people can sense the difference instantly. Over-apologizing makes your presence shrink. It creates imbalance. It pushes you into the role of the subordinate, the one who's always tiptoeing. And here's the truth. The more you apologize for nothing, the less people take you seriously when you apologize for something real. But even if you stop saying sorry, there's another pattern, even more invisible, that still leaks weakness into your presence. You ask for permission when you don't need to point one to. You ask for permission you don't actually need. Is it okay if I say something? Would you mind if I added a thought? I'm not sure if this is right, but sound familiar? These tiny phrases don't seem like much, but they frame everything that follows as less important. They tell the room, I need approval before I exist. Powerful people don't ask for permission they already have. They just begin. They just say it. They just do it. When you ask for permission where none is required, it makes your presence conditional, as if your voice is on lease and someone else holds the rights. And what's even worse, most people won't correct you. They'll simply agree with your smallness. But here's the shift. Instead of asking, just announce. Instead of, can I say something? Say, here's something I've been thinking about. Instead of, I hope it's okay to suggest. Say, I'd like to recommend something. This subtle change reframes everything. It sends a signal. I take myself seriously. And when you do that, others begin to follow. But there's one final habit, a deep-rooted one. It doesn't just shape how you talk or move. It shapes your entire identity. And it's this. You only feel safe when you're hiding. 13. You only feel safe when you're hiding. You've built your life around safety, avoiding risk, avoiding attention, avoiding the spotlight. It wasn't always a conscious choice. It started small. Maybe someone shamed you for being loud. Maybe someone laughed when you tried. Maybe you failed publicly and no one caught you. So you made yourself small. You became careful. You became excellent at watching instead of participating. And now, even when the world offers you a stage, you hesitate. Not because you lack talent, but because you've tied your safety to your invisibility. But here's the hard truth. There is no real safety in hiding. There's only comfort and eventual regret. Powerful people aren't fearless, but they choose visibility. Despite fear, they understand. Impact requires risk. Attention is a price. And if you don't pay it, you stay hidden, not just from others, but from yourself. If your nervous system only feels calm when you're invisible, that's not peace. That's programming. And the good news? You can rewire it. You can learn to be seen without shrinking, to stand without apology, to speak without permission, to take space without guilt, to exist fully. Because the opposite of being invisible is not being loud. It's being real. And the world, especially the powerful ones, can only respond to who you actually are. These 13 habits don't scream weakness. They whisper it. And powerful people hear those whispers loud and clear. They don't hate you. They just forget you exist because you've been signaling that you're okay with being ignored. But here's the good news. These are habits, which means they can be unlearned. Every smile you gave too quickly, every time you said sorry when you meant no, every moment you stayed quiet when you had something to say, those weren't flaws. They were old training. You were taught to play small. Now you know how to play real, because presence doesn't come from shouting. It comes from subtracting all the habits that made you soft, shaky, and forgettable. You were never meant to be invisible. You just forgot how to be felt.